Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 50th episode, the Hawaii Five-0 episode of John Santo's The Radio. And now, here's your host, John Santo. Hello, everybody, and welcome to John Santo's The Radio. 50 episodes. I can't believe it went that fast. And I wish we had John Butera on this week. We had him on last week, and I wasn't smart enough to realize he's a big Hawaii Five-0 fan. He was in Hawaii. We talked about Hawaii last week. And I only just came up with the 50th anniversary, 50th episode thing just 5 seconds before the show started when we said it was episode 50. But I have a very, I think he's a Hawaii Five-0 fan also. Please welcome my special guest co-host,
Stevie GB.
Stevie GB is here. Stevie GB is on the 50th episode. Are you a Hawaii Five-0 fan, Stevie GB?
Of course. I grew up on that show, Yeah.
Awesome show, right? Shin-Ho Kelly. Che Fong was the lab guy. The best show. James MacArthur was Dano, Jack Lord, McGarrett. Best show.
Wow, you remember more than me. Was Wo Fat the guy's name, the bad guy?
Fat? He was Chinese intelligence, Wo Fat.
Yeah. That's all I remember. Wo Fat and Jack Lord, McGarrett and Dano. That's about it.
McGarrett, Dan. Well, Chin-Ho Kelly. Yeah, Chin.
Uh-huh.
And Chin, Dano, and McGarrett were on for most of the seasons. And then, unfortunately, Chin got killed off in 1978. They dumped his body right outside 5-0 headquarters. That was I cried when that happened. And then they brought in, and then you had like Kono. You had that guy Duke. There was like a fourth guy that was always a floater. But
wow,
that show,
more than me.
Yeah, no, that show ran from 1968 to 1980. Before Law and Order, that was the longest running police show in history. And then
Really?
Magnum PI followed McGarrett, followed 5-0 because the crew was already in Hawaii and they didn't want to leave. So they said, "Oh, we got this other script about a Hawaiian private investigator." And then Magnum started right after 5-0 ended. Magnum.
Wow. That's pretty good trivia. I didn't know any of that.
They reference Hawaii Five-0 a little bit. Like Magnum thought some guy was following him, and TC goes, "I checked out the car. It's registered to some guy named McGarrett." So there was 5-0. That's true. I can't believe I remember all this. This is like 30, 40-year-old trivia.
That's pretty good. All I remember is the theme song was The Ventures. That's about it.
Yeah, great theme song. I mean, they play it at weddings. It's a very big theme song, very popular.
Absolutely.
So how have you been, sir? How are you doing? I have not seen you in a long time.
It's been a long time. My last gig was in March. It's going to be a year before we know it.
Yeah.
I'm doing all right, trying to do different things.
I did a comedy show, and I had to use CIA level tradecraft to avoid detection by the state liquor authority because I had to switch cars. I switched cars 3 times. I wasn't taking any chances. I went to parking garages, so in case I had aerial assets, I could avoid detection. I went into parking garage. I switched cars 3 times. Turned off my phone. I used the GPS to navigate to like within 2 miles of the venue, and then I used paper maps to complete the navigation the rest of the way.
And did you have to say swordfish to get in? Did you have to have
swordfish? The Finkelstein is not a midget. That was the code word. And no, I did. I seriously switched cars 3 times and turned off the phone. It was like I was like the Taliban. I mean, I was like I was undetectable. Because I didn't want the place to lose their liquor license. So I won't even say the name of the place. It was a laundromat. And that was code word. I even had codes when we were talking on the phone with the other comedians. I'm like, okay, the chicken is in the pot. We're going to cook it in the laundromat. That meant the name of the venue,
Right.
Because you don't know, you ever see Star Trek Tudor at the Con?
No.
Oh
yeah, with Ricardo Montalban. Yeah, I saw that years ago.
When he said, "Captain, we won't have transporter ability for 2 days," and then he goes, "Spock, it's 2 hours. Are you ready?" He's like, "Yes." He goes, "What?" He said 2 days. He exaggerated the time because he was monitoring the transmission. So, so March was your last gig. Where was your last gig?
Believe it or not, it was at a temple. It was for Purim. It was a Jewish temple
Uh-huh.
inside somebody's house.
Oh wow.
I get all the Jewish gigs. People think I'm Jewish. I tell them
I get.
GB is Goldberg.
I've done, I've done a lot of. I love those temple shows because they a lot of times they cater from Ben's Kosher Deli, which I absolutely love.
Absolutely, yeah.
So they're like, "Oh, is Ben's okay?" I'm like, "Is Ben's okay? I eat there all the time."
I know. Well, we used to do
Ben's
comedy
is
shows. Didn't we do a couple of Ben's shows together? I thought we did.
sure. We did them for Alan. We did.
Yeah,
I did Ben's Bayside. I did Ben's Greenvale.
that's right. Bayside.
Um,
You and I did Bayside. Remember you
we did
drove.
Bayside. Yep. I did. We did Bayside. And my friends used to live in Bayside, so I've actually eaten at that Ben's as a civilian. Then I did. He had this other kosher place out by your neck of the woods, out in Suffolk. It was
Oh, Zorns,
yeah, but
Zans,
that
Zans.
Zan's very good place.
Yeah, in Lake
Great
Grove.
comedy room in the back, and Lake Grove, yes, right by the mall there.
Yeah.
Really good food. I love the coleslaw. I love when they give you the big thing of coleslaw.
Yes.
At the beginning with the pickles.
Pickles in the coleslaw.
That's the best. And they give you a whole big tray of coleslaw. And now I'm getting hungry for Ben's. I may have to break pandemic protocol and go to Ben's tomorrow for lunch. I always get this. What do you usually get when you at Ben's? Do you have a favorite?
I get the corned beef. Corned beef
Corned
on
beef.
rye. Yeah. I put the coleslaw right on the sandwich. You got to put the coleslaw on the sandwich.
Totally do that. I totally put the coleslaw on the sandwich. I hope they name the sandwich after me. I would love a John Santo sandwich, but the John Santo sandwich, which doesn't exist, is turkey. It would be an
imitation. It would be an imitation.
It would be an imitation. They use imitation meat. Now the meat there is the best, right? So I get the John Santo is club garlic bread, turkey, lettuce, tomato, coleslaw. And sometimes I like to split the fries with another person because they give you way too many fries.
They do
for a single person. So I usually split it with two other people, and it's plenty because you're loading up on coleslaw. You got the pickle. Which pickle do you like? The light green or the dark green?
The dark.
Yeah, the dark all the way. I tell them don't even bring the other one.
I even like the gherkins. I like gherkins pickles. Those are my favorite pickles.
Ooh.
If you're talking pickles, you got to go gherkins.
This was a mistake to talk about the Ben's because now I'm really in the mood for Ben.
We've gone down to pickles now. We're talking about pickles.
It's a pickles. Now I've eaten in the Ben's. You ever eaten at the Ben's on 38th off of 7th?
No.
So that's a Ben's there. That's a big Ben's. And I used to work not far from there. In fact, both of my jobs. One job was 5 blocks south of it, and the other job was like 4 blocks north and an avenue over. So I was like right. I was within 0.7 of a mile walking distance from Ben's. Both sides, north and south, right? And I used to go there for lunch. Great place. I ate there with Les Deegan, a mutual friend of ours, great comic.
Of course, yeah. Les knows all the Jewish delis in New York City.
All the delis, but he worked not far. He worked on 42nd, I think, and 8th, and I came up from the other way, and we just met right there. Great place. And I'm like, and the people had no idea who was sitting at the next booth, right? I mean, Les Deegan, John Santo, these are big names,
Absolutely.
So, yeah, so it's coming along. So you're getting through the pandemic okay?
What are we going to do? Well, you do what you got to do. I mean, I'm trying different things. I'm doing I'm going to try an internet radio show, sort of like what you're doing, internet TV. We're going to do a little talk show.
That's awesome.
Don Sill.
Tell us about it. Don. Oh, sure. I know Don very well. Don's amazing.
Don Sill and Mike Keegan so far.
Sure,
I got I'm a conservative. I'm a big Trump guy. Yep. And, I watch these shows like The Five. I think I told you about this. And Greg Gutfeld was on, and he said something really interesting a couple of weeks ago. He said, these media people should just admit that they're biased. Whether they're trying to hide their bias, why don't they just come out and say it? Look, we're obviously biased, and that's it. And I thought that's a great idea. And there's really nothing on. I mean, you got The View is obvious, but there's nothing on the conservative side of a panel of guys. They always have one liberal in there. I'm saying forget the liberal. So the whole show is going to be all comedians, okay?
Right.
And we're just going to discuss, politics, and it's all one-sided. We're not going. The theme of the show is no apologies, no surrender, no opposing views.
That's awesome.
No opposing views.
We'll talk about. the show. You could talk about
Yeah.
your particular show. I don't do politics on this show
Right.
because I'm just, I like to have fun on the show. But when we're talking about your show,
Well, this will be fun. This will be
no,
fun.
no. But you're prepared to deal with with that as the focal point of the show, where I'm trying to do. But no, but we're going to definitely talk about your show, the political end of it on this show, because it's not. But like what I try to do here is and I have people from both, very liberal, very conservative on the show. And we usually don't. We talk about satirical thing. You've heard the show; it's more satirical. But yours is going to be great, I think, because there really isn't that much content on the conservative side. And I know, and I shouldn't know. I worked in media for 12 years, and I worked in a trade publication, Aerospace. I didn't know the political leanings of the reporters, and that's exactly the way it should be. And they covered the political aspect of the defense budget, but you didn't know from what it was always unbiased. And what I see in the media today, I could instantly tell the bias immediately. Yeah. I know exactly, that's why when I'm president of the United States, and what do you think about this idea? If I become president, right, I'm going to have my own TV channel. It's come to the point where the president needs his or her own channel because you can't trust the media. Forget about bias, just competence. You can't trust them. I've been to events that I've seen covered in the media and asked, was that person a reporter at the same event that I was at? Because that's not
I know. Yeah.
And it's not.
They get the names wrong. They get everything wrong.
The names wrong. They covered me in a puff piece about doing comedy. I think you were in it too. The guy came to Sergio's from one of the local internet sites and got the thing. I couldn't believe I was at the same event. That's why I do very few interviews unless I know the person personally.
Right.
And I want to make sure that they get it right. I want to approve the story before it goes out.
You want to approve it.
That's right. Well, I used to be on the business side. So the publisher used to, the editorial team used to go nuts when we would criticize them. But hey, too bad. You got to get it right. But yeah, there's a lot of crappy journalists out there. Even with things that like you and I would know. And I'm like, well, wait a second. I'm like, I have expertise in this particular field. What the hell are they talking about? That didn't happen. I want to reach through the TV.
Well, there's no more investigative journalism. Like they don't investigate anything. It's just all get the story first. It's all sensationalism. Throw it out there. We'll figure out if it's true later. And they never figured out if it's true because there's a new story coming around the bend. So there's no need to go back and correct.
You're right. There's no profit. People have to understand though that the media is not there to be. They're there to make money, and if they don't make money, they're not going to do the story.
Right.
Even though it's newsworthy. So the business person has taken over for the news person.
Yes.
And that's unfortunate because you don't really get those stories anymore, unless like Watergate or whatever, they were trying to take down Nixon. Where were the other stories about all the other scandals? They weren't.
Where do you think it started? Yeah, I kind of think it kind of went downhill around the OJ trial. I think the OJ trial was probably the turning point because right after that, we turned into a TMZ National Enquirer world of news.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That was because people were so entrenched and involved and obsessed with the OJ trial.
Yeah.
That it really. I think that was the moment when it was on its way there, but that was the moment where it just made the complete switch. And I feel like we'll never go back. And that's, you're going back like 95, 96. What year was that?
95.
95, right?
Yeah.
That's 25 years.
The trial was 95. Yeah, 94 was I just started dating my wife and all of a sudden we're watching OJ on, the car.
Yeah. So that's 25 years of bad journalism. There's no turning back.
No turning back. It's ingrained. But the thing that bothers me especially is the way that they covered the whole COVID thing, like with the data, right? Now, I'm a data scientist, data analyst, right?
Yeah.
I built my own COVID dashboards, right? And I see them say, well, the U.S. did such a bad job handling the pandemic. And then I'm looking at the other 195 countries that have COVID, right? And the bottom line is, I'll spare the long, boring story. I looked at all the data over time series for all the countries. I looked at G7. I looked at US, Canada. They all had varying levels of spike at varying times. So you know what
Right.
my conclusion is, looking at all this, is that yes, social distance, wear a mask, absolutely. The virus is uncontrollable, and it's going up and down and peaking in different places, probably due to things that are completely variables that we can't control. There's probably dozens of variables that are going into why this country went up initially, then crashed, now is rising up faster than every other country.
Hmm.
I look at the percentage of deaths to confirmed cases. U.S. statistically is like within a pack of about 100 countries,
Hmm.
right? All within about a point of each other, but nobody's an outlier. The outliers are Italy, UK, mostly Europe. Um, China and India have roughly the same population, and India has 10, 15 times the cases. Total bullshit. We know that the Chinese numbers low. We know
Yeah.
Iran lies about their numbers.
Right.
Also there is a legitimate national security reason for these countries to lie. If somebody were to find out that half their military was affected by coronavirus, that would be a good opportunity, right? So they're not going to tell the truth, you
That's
know,
true. Well,
about it.
who knows if we're telling the truth? We don't
Who
know
knows
what
if
we're
we're
telling.
telling the truth? Well,
Who knows?
here's what I don't understand. Say Stevie GB tests positive, God forbid, goes to CVS for a test case, one case. Then you go to Walgreens for another test because you got to test again in whatever many days. You're positive. They have no unique way of identifying you as Stevie GB, the patient number 1, 2, 3, 4. So
Hmm.
I can't dedupe. I don't know how many of those cases are duplicate cases
That's
that are,
true.
that are one person testing positive 3 or 4 times.
And then add in the false positives, the false positives and the
And there's
false
a certain
negatives. And
percentage of that, right?
yeah.
And then there's also a certain percentage of viral spread. There's definitely spread, right? So
Mhm.
we don't know how much of it is due to inaccuracies or pieces of data that weren't collected. So we can't correct for those things. And we also don't know if every country is using the same test, the same methodology for reporting,
Mhm.
and all the rest. And we also know that the deaths. I haven't seen any flu numbers in a long time.
The flu
Are
numbers
those
are almost zero. They're really low because people
and
are
those
washing their hands. They're social distancing, wearing a mask.
right? And also, I think some of the COVID might be miscoded, and also what you said. So there's so many variables, but so many people are pounding their chest that they know the answer. And as a data scientist, I'm looking at all this, and I'm like, no. And I also think that the numbers are way higher than what we see, right? Because we
Right.
don't know how many people had it, resolved it, and were never counted in the case,
Absolutely. And
right? And that we don't.
how many people get a fever, stay home, get over it, never go out and get tested? So, it
Yep.
could be
I mean,
30 million.
I know a lot of people. I remember looking at and I love when people post when they're sick because as a germaphobe, I know that if I see them, I figure out how many days it was since they posted, and I don't want to shake their hand.
Mm.
This is before the pandemic, right? But a lot of people in December said they had this mysterious cough and cold that wouldn't go away for 3 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a friend of mine had it, and he had congestion that he'd never had. It was really like disgusting congestion. Could he have had coronavirus in January? He thinks he did because he got two colds like right back to back, and that's rare. Like
Mm.
2 weeks apart, a cold. That usually I usually get them 6 months apart, right? So I don't know. There's a lot of it's interesting.
Yeah, but they just used it as a political weapon. They used it to get
Yep.
rid of Trump, and it worked. I think it worked. But who knows? Maybe he didn't lose yet. Maybe yeah. You're following this? I'm following this like the OJ trial.
I'm following it, but I'm like, if they have something, I want to hear what that is.
I know everybody's hungry.
Otherwise, it's not. I this is why I don't like money in politics. But I wonder if this is just a shit show to fundraise. For the legal fund or whatever. I don't know what the hell is going on. I don't
I
trust
don't know.
anybody. I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
know. But then I think, like, why would certain people lie? Like that lawyer, that Sydney lady, who now
Yes. Yep.
she's sort of distanced herself. But I have a theory about that.
Tell me
Why
what your
would she
theory is,
lie?
because
What's the benefit of her lying? That's what I
I
don't
don't
get.
get it. I don't get it. I don't know. I don't
It's
know.
not like there's a job at the end. I mean, people lie for different reasons: for money, for a job, for some kind of advancement in their career, but
Yeah,
not to I mean, if she's lying, I mean, she runs the risk of being disbarred. I mean, what's the
correct.
point of her lying?
That's what I want to see. And then I saw, what's kind of cool about this is that I'm getting a chance to use my Giuliani impression again.
Yeah, no, I want to
You
hear
know,
that.
oh,
You haven't done any impressions yet.
So we have these cases, we have the evidence, the affidavits, and we're going into the courts, and we're going to show the judges that there was fraud, that these votes shouldn't have voted. These people shouldn't have been voters. These mail-in ballots, there's no signatures, and I'm purposely using extensive S words because the heart of a Giuliani impression is the S, right?
Yeah,
If you want to go do a good Giuliani, this is sickening. It's disturbing. It's ludicrous. It's ludicrous. You have to do the S.
You're right. It's very good.
So that's my Giuliani there.
That's very good. I didn't realize he did that, but now that you're doing it, it's perfect.
I haven't done him in a while. When he was mayor, I did him more. I had him in the. I actually had him in a bit where I was an airline pilot, and I said, "Ladies and gentlemen, we're approaching New York City. No, we're approaching Boston. We're going to fly low over Fenway Park. I want everybody to stick their middle fingers in the windows and yell, 'Go Yankees!'" Because he was a big Yankee fan, so we're going to fly over Fenway Park. Sorry to my Boston listeners. It's just a joke. Don't say. Yeah, hey, we visited to John Santo over there. You hear what he said about Fenway Park?
Exactly. Well, my favorite Boston expression was they say farty. I got $40 in my pocket. $40 in my pocket. They're crazy.
So I want to run something by you, which I understand that there's going to be a large death toll, but just politically speaking.
Right.
Because Trump, people don't understand this, and people argue with me, and they just don't understand the way how national defense works. Trump can order a nuclear strike up until his term ends, right?
Okay.
So just hear me out. This is strictly political. I'm not saying that he should do this, but I'm saying he should do this, right? He should launch a preemptive strike against China. Okay.
Okay.
Politically, this is advantageous in two ways. One, it would eliminate a major threat to the United States. And I'm just talking military targets. I'm not talking cities, right?
Right.
The Chinese can only retaliate. They don't have weapons that can reach any other part of the U.S. except the West Coast, right? All of those places voted for Biden. So if Trump would have come back in 2024, a preemptive strike against China limits their ability to do the things that they've been doing to us for the past 25 years with fentanyl and everything else. And it eliminates a large swath of voters for 2022 Jesus. And 2024. You got Oregon, Seattle, all those places are gone. San Francisco, Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Most of your West Coast will be gone.
Take out part of New Mexico while you're at it. Who cares?
Right. Now, they strike the West Coast, right?
Mm-hmm.
That makes Trump's hotels in Las Vegas the westernmost attraction.
That's right.
So from a business and a political standpoint, that's, how many people are going to be commenting about this?
Oh, forget it. You're going to get
They
have
know how to take a joke. Oh, he would do that too. He's a piece of shit.
He's probably listening and he's going to do it.
I have no plans to nuke China. I should nuke China, but we're not going to nuke China.
The China virus, but which I won, by the way.
China.
The other day, the election, which I won, by the way.
Well, I tell you something. If again, what Giuliani says about the ballots and the Dominion software, if this is true, all right, this has got to get into the courts, and the courts will decide if it's.
Yeah.
But they haven't. They have to come out now and this is real. We got a couple of weeks left. They got to say.
They're running out of time.
The clock is running, and as of now, we're keeping score. That was from Top Gun. You a Top Gun fan?
No.
No?
I'm not a big movie guy. I've only seen the only movies I can really quote is like Annie Hall, Spaceballs. Oh, that's right. You're an Annie Hall guy.
Oh, I'm a big Annie Hall. When he pulls
I love that movie.
Marshall McLuhan, from Behind the Sign.
You know nothing of my work.
You know nothing of my work.
How you got to teach a course in Columbia is a mystery.
Oh, really? Well, I think that I happen to teach a course at Columbia called whatever. I think that my insights into Mr. McLuhan have a great deal of validity. Oh, yeah? I happen to have Mr. McLuhan right here. That was who thinks of that? And then he turns to the camera. If only life could be like this. I was walking in Manhattan, and I was walking, and the area started to look familiar. And I couldn't figure. I wanted to confirm it, but I couldn't find it. I was walking when he's walking down the street. He's like, "California, Max, we have to get out of this."
Yeah,
right. And I thought I was in that area, but I couldn't confirm it. Do you remember where that was filmed? That particular scene.
I think most of it Upper East Side.
That's what I thought. I was in that, but also it's also a long time. It's 40 years later,
Yeah,
but I was like,
40 years, 43 years.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, I want this looks. Well, this was also about 10 years ago, right? So I'm like, oh, I wonder if this was the year. And I think I looked it up. There's some kind of house, something house it's called, and I think that was where they filmed it. It was like a landmark building that they walked by. Not a big landmark, but not unknown.
I don't know. I never looked into where they filmed it, but I know it was definitely in Manhattan. And there's a tennis club. I think probably the New York Tennis Club is up there because I think he plays tennis.
Yes, he plays tennis. And then, well, that's where he meets Annie Hall.
That's where he meets Annie Hall, right? Grammy Hall.
What did you grow up in a Norman Rockwell painting? I love that.
My grandmother was too busy being raped by Cossacks.
Well, so I also saw those movies when I was a little kid. I was like 10, 13. I didn't know all the.
Oh yeah, it took a while to catch up with the references.
As I watched it when I got older. And rewatched it, I learned so much more because I understood more. Right?
Yeah, it's a very high level. It's a very high level. To me, it's very like the Larry David, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Seinfeld, like that kind of humor. I think is the genesis of that is Woody Allen. I think he kind of created that kind of whiny Jewish but very intellectual, satirical. A view of life that's just negative, and like he says, the horrible and the miserable, right? The horrible is the blind and the crippled. The miserable is everybody else. So you should be glad that you're growing up miserable. It's just like you should be happy you're miserable because it's not horrible. So this is that whole depression, and it's wonderful. It's wonderfully funny.
This is poorly timed because the anniversary was yesterday, but when he's in bed with Allison Portnicek or whatever, and he's like, this is bothering me. Oswald was not good enough of a marksman to make that shot. She's like, I think, he goes, oh, you believe Earl Warren? He's a politician. That's one notch above child molesting.
So
all those references. And then she goes, you're using this Oswald thing as an excuse to avoid intimacy with me. And he turns again, she's right. Allison Portnicek. It's brilliant.
Yeah, breaking the fourth wall. Again, that's I don't think that was ever done. Well, Groucho Marx, he's a big Groucho Marx fan. So that he got a lot of his time, his jokes and all of that was Groucho. Because Groucho used to break the fourth wall all the time. He would look in.
Right.
There was one great scene, I think it was in Horse Feathers, and he said, I'm the plumber. I'm here to inspect your pipes. And he says that to the woman, I'm here to inspect your pipes. And he looks right in the camera and says, I haven't done that joke in 20 years. And he goes, you people, I have no choice but to stay here, but you people can leave. He's like talking right to the audience.
That's funny. Yeah, it's actually, I like those off the cuff type things. Like even when the comedians laugh, I know we're not supposed to laugh on stage, we're supposed to be professional. But the audience loves it when we do. I started cracking myself up on stage one time, and the audience went nuts for it.
Yeah.
It's just because they see us as, I don't know, it's like we're funny and we're...
Well, no, you know what it does, John?
We're being funny.
It humanizes us. It makes us human. And then we become more relatable. We're not up there like robots telling jokes. We become relatable and likable, and when we laugh at what we're saying, they're with us. Then because that's what it is, from comedy. You want the audience to be with you.
Yeah. Like when I do like one of my bits, I'm like, this is such a stupid bit. I actually criticize my own bit in the middle of it. They love it Because it is a stupid bit. Somebody came up to me one time after the show. She goes, you were funny, but your humor is very sophomoric and unrealistic. And I'm like,
oh, that's nice.
She's like, those people would never be president, and the presidents would never endorse Viagra. I'm like, oh my God, you caught me. Of course, that's my whole act.
That's a nice woman. Was that like a family member that did that to you?
No, it was one of those 55 and over communities.
Oh, yeah.
They were opinionated.
What's the weirdest compliment you ever got? You ever get like a weird compliment?
Compliment?
Well, when they say stuff like a left-handed, like I get things like some of your stuff was funny. I always like that one.
I like, you were funny too.
You were funny too. Oh, I like when they quote a joke you said and it's not your joke, like it was another comedian on the show.
Somebody came up to me. She goes, "Were you the one that did the impressions?" I'm like, 90% of my act is impressions.
And you were the only impressionist on the show, so how would they not know it was you?
The only impressionist on the show, yeah.
Yeah, the master.
I would love for someone to say, "Hey, did you do that beach bit?" So for those of you that don't know Stevie Jeeby's beach bit, this bit, I'm a big fan of this bit. This bit it's nothing short of incredible because you do it with such energy and it's so true. And the way you do it is, Brett, I'm not going to give it away because you got to go see Stevie Jeeby next year hopefully next year.
2027.
2027. That bit is absolutely brilliant. And anybody that's been to Long Island Beach, particularly Jones Beach, where you're 600 miles from the water. What is the number you put? 2 miles, whatever it is. You're so far.
Oh, 37 miles. I think I use 37 a lot. 37 is my favorite number. 37 is a hilarious number.
It's 37. True. You're very far from the beach, there, but it's a brilliant bit.
You're walking 37 miles through mountains and valleys and rivers. And you go through the tunnel.
Now, I'll tell you something funny about it. But I go to what the hell's the beach from my town? Tobay Beach.
Oh, okay.
The water's right there.
Yeah.
You get out of the car. I'm like, oh my God, there's nowhere. It's too close. So Jones Beach, which is only a couple of miles away.
Yeah.
The beach is huge. Tobay, it's like, oh my God, the water's right there. What the hell?
Yeah. Jones Beach, you got to walk 37 miles to get to the beach.
It's so big. Exhausted. It's so far there.
You're exhausted.
Well, so what do you think about this whole thing that came up about Long Island, Nassau, Suffolk seceding from New York State?
I heard that. Is that really true?
It comes up a lot. Now it's really coming up. It's been talked about. I remember talking about it in college in political science. We were talking about
that and the bridge to Connecticut. Those are the two things you always hear about.
Well, the bridge to Connecticut that should have happened. That's a disgrace.
Yeah, I don't know why they haven't done that yet. But seceding, making Long Island a state? I don't know what. Pay state taxes? I don't think it's a good idea. There's too much bureaucracy on Long Island.
Yeah, well, that's I mean, it would just be Nassau and Suffolk, right? It would not, just the. I love getting away from the city and that whole. I would love it because then we keep our tax rate.
We would have our own electoral college votes, right? How many electoral college votes would we have? 5.
We'd have. How many congressmen do we have?
Oh, I don't know.
We have 1, 2, 3. They'd have to redistrict because you can't. A congressional district wouldn't be able to go into Queens and Nassau anymore. It would have to be only Nassau and Suffolk.
And would Queens and Brooklyn be part of it? Because Queens and Brooklyn is technically Long Island.
No, they're geographically on Long Island, but they're part of the city. Unless they secede from New York City, then they're welcome. But I don't want Brooklyn and Queens.
You just want Nassau, Suffolk. What would be the capital of Long Island?
Hauppauge.
That's what I thought because you got the Denison Village, you got all the courts there.
Yeah, Hauppauge would be the state capital. The state flag would be an orange construction flag, and because we're always under construction. Then you have MacArthur Airport right there, so that would be the capital
airport
of Long Island. Airport. And so we would have. So let's say I think we have 3 congressional seats, right?
Uh-huh.
So we'd have 3 congressional seats. That's 3 and 2 senators, 5 electoral votes.
Yeah, and a governor. We'd have a governor.
and we'd have a governor. We'd have a different governor than we have now. Plus, we would keep all of our tax revenue. We wouldn't be subsidizing New York City's all their crap.
That's the good part about it.
We would control it here, so we might still pay a state income tax, but we wouldn't be paying. We're paying it anyway to New York. Now we'd keep that money local.
That's true. Yeah.
Right. So now instead of giving 8% to Albany or whatever it is, we keep 8%. We give 8% to Hauppauge.
Is there real talk about it? Is it something that's thinking about doing?
I don't know. It's become a little bit of a thing. I think it's a great idea to look at and run the numbers. And here's the best part. You ready for this? Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know legally if this is 100%, but this is just me talking out loud. Most of the New York State workers, the teachers and everything else, their pensions are with New York State, right? So if we start a new state, we don't have those pension obligations. New York has to pay them.
Oh.
And then we start with a clean slate. So that saves a shitload of money right there. So all of your state workers, right? Your state, all that. So now we'd have to pick up those pensions starting at the year we become a state. But most of those vested or current payouts would still be the obligation of New York. We wouldn't assume that debt. I don't know if that's legal or if there would be a factor. I don't know. But imagine if we could do that, right?
Yeah.
That would be great. It's like starting a new airline. You don't have any pension obligations.
It would be interesting. That
would be fascinating, right? And then you structure. So it basically all the crap that's wrong with New York State would stay to the west of us, right? We wouldn't structure our state that badly with all these things. We would structure it with common sense because we would be separate from them. So all those morons in the city council and all those other people, we don't have that anymore.
No, we don't have to deal with that anymore. It's a good idea. I like it. The Democrats are thinking about it. The Democrats are thinking about adding states, right? They want to add Puerto Rico.
They want to add Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C., which I think D.C. is expressly prohibited by the Constitution to be a state.
When will that stop them? But I don't know. Long Island is pretty red, so I don't know if they would go with Long Island because it's really not a Democratic area.
No, I don't know. Yeah, but the Democrats in Nassau and Suffolk are smarter than the city Democrats, so they're smart here. So that's why it's not. I don't know what the red blue. I hate all that red blue shit. I would rather have a person from. This is the other thing I've always said. Better to have somebody powerful from the suburbs to fight, regardless of the party, than to have somebody than to have the city running it, because the city's going to screw the suburbs, and the suburbs are trying to screw the city. So I want my person to be the most powerful person from the suburbs,
right?
No matter what the party is.
You want to be the screwer. You want to be the screwer, not the screwy.
Exactly. That's why I never vote for, even though I think I don't like to vote for the family court judge. Because if my wife leaves me, that person is going to decide my fate. I don't want to put them in office. I don't know how they're going to rule. So.
The family court judge.
But I do have a quick commercial here for our sister network, Strong Island Television.
Okay.
Laughter Saves Lives live tomorrow, Tuesday night, 8:00. Host John LaRocchia, co-hosted by John LaRocchia Jr. Do you know who they have as their guest tomorrow?
Who?
Louis Gossett Jr.
Wow, they're getting some pretty heavy hitters. They got Rich Little, I saw recently.
Heavy hitter. I was on the show with Rich Little. That was incredible.
Yeah.
And Louis Gossett Jr. is their guest, and that's on tomorrow, Tuesday, 8:00, and on our sister network, Strong Island Television, and that's going to be a great show because John LaRocchia Jr. is big into the movies. He knows a lot about the movies, so that's going to be a great show with Louis Gossett Jr. I'm a big Iron Eagle fan. I know you're not a movie guy, but Iron Eagle, when I was in high school, that was the top of that and Top Gun were the movies.
I never saw it. I got to see these movies.
You never saw Iron Eagle?
No.
In two sentences, I'm going to explain to you the premise. You ready for the premise?
Okay.
You're going to laugh at you. I want to see a reaction to when I tell you what Iron Eagle is about. So this guy is an Air Force colonel, and he gets shot down and captured in the Middle East. They don't say what country, but it was Libya. He's being held prisoner. His son, who he took flying with him, 16-year-old kid, took him up in the F-16s. He flies the F-16 simulators. The Air Force isn't going to go rescue the father. So him and Louis Gossett Jr., who's also an Air Force colonel, devised a plan for the two of them to fly in and get him. The kid and an Air Force colonel. Get F-16s and go in and get the father. That's the movie.
That's it?
Yep, that's the movie. But a great movie. It was actually a good movie, very big in the time, 86. Came out in January of 86. And a great soundtrack, Queen, Dio, big sound, Basil. That Basil guy did the sound, the music, the score. Great picture.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah. I have 85 copies of it on DVD. I'll send you.
You probably do.
Do you have a DVD player?
Of course. I do.
I have a very old DVD player. It's got to be 20 years old.
Actually, I got a Blu-ray. Now I think about it, I got a Blu-ray. I'm not sure if I have a DVD.
Well, Blu-ray plays DVD type. Blu-ray DVD is usually back with.
Yeah.
So I have a DVD player. When I bought my TV, the guy goes, "Hey, dude, you get a 4K TV. You gotta get a 4K DVD. Gotta get a 4K DVD." So I spent freaking $150 on this DVD. I've used it twice.
That's it.
It's all streaming now. Yeah,
I know. Yeah, everything's streaming.
It's all streamed. But I gave away I try to give my old DVD player, not Blu-ray, just DVD, and my old television to charity, and they already had a better one. So I didn't take it. I called. I said, let me call charities where the poverty rate in that county is very high, and they all had better TVs. Yeah, they had better ones than I had.
Your technology is older than Savers and the Goodwill. That's funny.
But we try to donate. I donate to the great charity that's right here in Wantua, New York, is the John Thiessen Foundation. John Thiessen for the long time has been.
Sure.
Yeah, John is a great guy. I knew John in grade school, and his older brother's in grade school, and great guy. And we donate a lot to toys every year for his charity.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's so I bought a few when my kids were young. They were like, we brought toys to them, and I made the kids come with me when my kids were young. And they're like, "Why do we have to take all this time to bring to donate?" I said, "Because you spoiled brats are going to get whatever you're going to get for Christmas. The gift that we give a kid, the one thing that we're giving them might be the only thing they unwrap that year."
That's true.
Right? I don't know. Some people, I guess, are in really bad shape, and then my kids really appreciated it more.
Yeah,
because I'm like, imagine this.
We used to do this thing where they used to have it in the mall. They used to have the angel on the tree where you pick an angel and a kid. That's the toy they want. Yeah. Some of these kids wanted some stuff. They want like PlayStation 4 and Apple, Apple Watch. I'm like, they want like $1,000 gifts. What's going on here?
There was a meme. Is it meme or mem? I can't remember.
I don't know. Mimi.
They show a girl crying that she didn't get the color iPod that she wanted, or iPad, or whatever.
Right.
She didn't get the right color, right? Then they show a kid in the third world country. He goes holding a rock, pretends it's a camera. Happiest kid in the world. And it's the people here are so spoiled.
Yeah.
When I was a kid and I played Coleco football or Atari, whatever, the football was like a little thing, and the guy, you're lucky it was blue and red players. That was it, or green and whatever.
Right.
That was it. Now my son's playing freaking Madden. You hear the guy going, and the pass is on the 20-yard line. You could see the holes in the jerseys and the letters.
The sweat. You can see the guy sweating.
You see the sweat. And the baseball, right? So the baseball, if a player in real life has Under Armour cleats, Rawlings batting gloves, and a Wilson glove, that's what he uses in the game.
Wow.
It's sick. And then the lines start off really nice. Even the one I have on the iPhone, I play MLB RBI baseball. If I slide into home plate, the next batter, you'll see the line is scuffed.
Wow.
I'm like, it's ridiculous. I used
That's
to play
insane.
with the field that had no character to the field. It was
I used to
generic
play
ballpark.
Nintendo RBI baseball. Remember that? That was a fun game.
Yes, yeah. But the field was generic. When you play at City
Yeah.
Field on my phone, you see the City Field sign the same way it is at the. Remember where your seats were when I saw you that time above the
Yeah.
bullpen area?
Yeah.
It's exactly like that in the game.
Wow.
You see the line, the blue and orange line, the 408, everything. It's crazy. And this is on the phone, on the PlayStation. Now PlayStation 5's coming out. That's going to be ridiculous.
Did you watch baseball at all this year? I couldn't even get into it.
I did. I really got into it this year.
You did?
I did. Yeah, I did. I went with, as you know, LaRocchia and the Laugh to Saves Lives guys. Butera was down there already. He did a couple of shows with us. John Solano. We all went to spring training together.
Oh, that's right.
I had gone a few years ago, but I didn't go to a game. We went to a game this time, and we had, the hotel gave us really good seats. And I was never in that stadium before. And this was opening day of that the renovated ballpark.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. This is gonna be a great year for baseball. And who knew that would be the only time I would see it in person?
Yeah.
And that really was the only time I saw it in person.
It was
that
tough
kind of
year.
stunk.
I mean, what do you think of this new guy, Cohen? You think he's going to help the Mets?
Oh, totally. In fact, let's bring Mike Francesa in. Do you know Mike Francesa, Stevie?
I know his name.
Hello, the radio. This is Mike Francesa. We're going to talk sports. If we're going to talk sports, you got to bring in the best, and you have the best. You have Mike Francesa. I think that Steve Cohen for the Mets is going to be phenomenal because he has a lot of money, and he's going to be great for the Mets because they finally have an owner who can spend money. Okay. Stevie, did you hear Luis Rojas will be the manager for 2021? Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did hear that. Yeah.
Francesa always exhales when he speaks. It'd be like, okay, Freddie in Freeport. What's up, Freddie? He always goes that.
That's right. He does. That was very good.
Thank you. I love doing Francesa. I couldn't do Francesa for a long time, and it's not. I don't even do him that well. But
yeah,
he's
me
fun.
Convinced.
Oh, thank you. He's a lot of fun to do, Francesa. Like, because you could talk about anything as Francesa, and it sounds great.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Mr. Cuomo. How did you get an Emmy when you killed 11,000 people? What's that? You got an Emmy.
What we're doing in New York State, we need to wear a mask. You need to wear a mask. Read the law. Read the law. And Stevie, I don't know if you know, but we have additional restrictions on Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Okay.
I heard.
Sausage and rice is not stuffing. It's sausage and rice. Stuffing is stuffing. It has to be stovetop. And you cannot make it inside the turkey because you'll get botulism and die. Okay? So you cannot do that. You cannot do it. You can't do it. So I want to bring Francesa back. So these people that put this restriction that you can't sing in your house, are these people even remotely familiar with the Constitution? You cannot tell people you can't sing in your house. Are you stupid? That's how
it's almost like we got Bloomberg back with the nanny state.
Oh, so I was walking outside when I worked in Midtown. I went to a Subway and I had you get the refills. Yes. So this is right after Bloomberg said you can't have a large soda. So I'm walking, and I knew the cop. I was right by Bryant Park. I used to see the cop all the time, and I'm like, "Officer, don't shoot at seltzer." He cracked up. He couldn't stop laughing at the cop. He was dying. I'm like, "Don't shoot at seltzer." He was dying.
But don't you miss Bloomberg? You must miss Bloomberg.
I miss Bloomberg tremendously. For those of you that don't speak English, El Miso Bloombergo. I got to tell you something about the
I love that bit.
Oh, that bit! Thank you. That bit's so much fun to do. And you know what that bit did the best? I did a gig for Rick Morgan in the Bronx.
Oh yeah.
And the audience was 3/4 of the audience was Latino, right?
Yeah.
And I did that bit, and I never got the laughs that I got that night. from any other audience.
Yeah.
They howled. There was a guy in the front row who bent over, like they fell over, grabbing his stomach. He couldn't stop laughing. And I had a line of people after the show saying, "You nailed it. He sounds ridiculous when he tries to speak Spanish." And one woman, not Latino, came up to me and said, that was offensive. I go, yeah, go tell them. Go tell all those people.
The ones who should have been offended, tell them.
They loved it. And I was nervous doing it. I was like, I hope this goes over. It was the great, because it's everybody goes to battle stations when anything remotely sensitive like that comes up.
You're doing an imitation of the guy.
Right, but I'm making fun of him, not the Spanish language, right? It's so obvious that it's not. And
I know that place you're talking about. It was right on the water. Was it right on the water?
Right on the water there. Yeah, right on the water.
I did that show.
God, I couldn't believe it. I was like, holy shit. Like, I'm thinking to myself, holy shit, they really like the bit, But that was, it's funny because the people that the joke is like for, they loved it. But the people that the joke wasn't for.
Well, those are your white liberals. They're the worst.
That was like, I mean, I don't want to say what the person was or anything, but
she was.
Stevie jumps right to conclusion. Unbiased. He goes right.
Obviously biased. No holding back.
No holding back. I forgot to mention that this episode is sponsored by the Space Pen. Go to spacepen.com for your Space Pen needs. All of my shows are written with the Space Pen. Are you familiar with the Space Pen?
Is that the one you can write upside down?
Upside down. So I have, the audience can't see it, but for Stevie, so this is how you deploy the pen.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a little ball on the side, that's retract. It's not like double click. There's one action for deploy, one for retract. I'll put it close. You see the little ball there?
I do. I see it.
That's the retract. So this is the AG7 Space Pen, Apollo program. I think Gemini too. I don't think they had it for Mercury. This is the most advanced pen in the world. Jerry Seinfeld uses it. All the great comedians use it.
Isn't that the pen that was in the Seinfeld episode where he said, "Take the pen, take the pen"?
There's so many. I mean, the cartridge is the same, but there's so many different kinds you can get. Like there's one like with a cap. This is the original, right? Because you don't want a cap floating in space. You want one solid piece, and the ball is there. So if you have a big glove on, like a space glove, if you're outside the spacecraft, you can write, or on the moon. The moon. So a lot of people don't know the moon in sunlight is 250 degrees Fahrenheit, and then if you go into shadow, it goes to minus 200 degrees. Plus 250 minus 200, and that's so. If you and I were in the space shuttle, Steve, and we were outside the spacecraft doing a spacewalk, and I'm in sunlight, and you're on the other side in shadow, and I hand you a tool, that tool changes temperature 450 degrees like that.
Really?
Instantly. Yep.
That's frightening. How would Arnold Schwarzenegger describe that pen?
Well, first of all, it is the most fantastic pen out there because it can write upside down. You can be in the jungle hunting a predator and being in the humidity and then the water and you have to write down the explosives and all of this. And then you could be on Mars. I was on Mars and Total Recall movie. I could be for time travel. You cannot bring the pen because nothing that is metal can go through the space-time, the time displacement equipment.
That sounds fantastic.
It is fantastic, and this pen works all over the world. It's fantastic. I used it in the kindergarten to write the lesson plans for the kindergarten, the cop there.
It's not a Puma.
It's not a tumor. It's no ordinary pen. This pen is fantastic. I love it. And you know what they make? You know what the space pen is made, Stevie GB?
What is it?
California. All of the space pens are in California.
Of course.
That is one of my favorite impressions to do. A lot of people ask me like my favorite impressions.
It's Arnold.
Arnold is up there. Yeah.
Yeah.
All of his movies, I had to kill a hopper cricket. Do you have those hopper crickets in your house?
No. What is a hopper cricket?
It's a cricket, but it jumps at you. They're harmless,
No.
but they're disgusting. Look up cave cricket, hopper cricket, whatever. They're in the basement. Sometimes they make it to the main floor.
Oh,
And
they're sometimes called spider crickets.
spider crickets, yes, sir.
Yes, I know
Yes,
what they are.
and they can hop.
They're horrible.
They can hop
Yeah.
high. So I had one where I nailed one with a football. I threw the football at him and I nailed him. I'm like, take that, you son of a bitch, you know. And but one time I saw one in the trap. I have the glue traps, and I look at him. I'm like, you're one ugly mother. You know, that was Predator. I love Predator. Predator was a great.
Now that movie I saw.
You saw Predator?
Yes.
I just was watching now I do 2 impressions from that movie.
Okay.
Who do you think the other person I do is? Because you probably don't know because I don't really do them.
I don't
Who do
know.
you think take a wild guess. I'll give you a hint. Think governor.
Think governor.
Not just Schwarzenegger. There's 2 governors. Oh, here's the music. I love the music. Isn't it
Gary
fantastic?
Brown. No, who's another governor?
The other governor was Jesse Ventura.
Of course.
I was talking to Arnold and I said, this is definitely an alien. We need to kill if it bleeds, we can kill it. And we need to destroy it because it's an alien.
It's good. It's very good.
Fantastic. I loved Predator movie. Carl Weathers was in this movie. You know who I wish didn't move down to Florida is Dylan. Because I would go up to him and go, Dylan, you son of a bitch.
Oh.
When he goes, Dylan, because every time I see him now, I want to go, Dylan, you son of a bitch. And they arm wrestle.
Yeah, Mike Dillon?
No, he's gonna kill me if I'm having a brain freeze. Derek Dillon.
Oh, okay, right, Derek Dillon.
He just moved down to Florida. I said, why you move down there? Move to California. It's
California.
California is much more fantastic.
What time is it? Is it almost?
It's almost at the end of the show. The 50th episode.
Wow, that was fast. That was fast.
I'm glad we finally had you on the show.
Yeah.
You want to talk about your show a little more in the minute or 2 we have left? We'll promote the show a little bit.
Well, it just started. We didn't start it yet. We're going to launch it hopefully in a couple of weeks. And like I said, it's going to be politics, and it's going to be comedians, the panel of comedians talking about the political landscape.
Okay.
All the right-wing comedians. There's a lot of them. We got Kevin Downey Jr. is probably going to be on it,
right.
And I hope, and some others. We have some others that are interested. Scott Baker from Isaacs and Baker.
Yep.
Wants to come on, and I want it to be. It's not going to be a real free for all. We're going to have strict topics, and we're going to talk a specific topic of the week.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Don Sill does a really good job with editing, so he's going to have like we're not going to do it live. We're going to tape it, and he's going to edit it and show little things in between. Hopefully, we'll have some stupid things that people say on the news. I want it to look like a news program. But like a daily show,
Steve, this is former President Clinton, and I think this is a great idea. I really do, and I think this show is going to be great. And Don Sill does a great job editing.
He does.
He's very professional work, not like this show.
Yeah,
way better.
And the way I look at it is, like this, the new thing now is Newsmax. You watch Newsmax at all?
I try to watch a little bit of all the channels, but Newsmax is
they're getting millions of viewers. Overnight.
I can't believe the viewership, how fast it went up.
And they can't handle it. They can't handle it. It's like cable access television. It's like Wayne's World quality. They can't. They got to get rid of the 12-year-old kid that's doing their tech over there. They got to get like a real
Wayne's
tech
World. Party on. Excellent.
They have no content. They have no content. It's like they'd probably be starving for content. So if we get this thing off the ground, I'll give them a call. Hey, put us on.
Did you see what was the thing with you remember Wayne's World 2, right? Del Preston?
Yes.
Remember the roadie?
The Woodstock.
I'm afraid that you've been misinformed. I don't do concerts anymore. That guy was amazing. I loved he's like, sleeping like this will add 10 years to your life. I learned it with Keith Richards when I was touring with the Rolling Stones. That guy made the movie.
He did. He stole the movie.
So that's where. So I don't know if you. When I was in a green room one time, I don't remember if you were on that show. I like to have a brandy glass full of M&Ms. Because of that movie. So I think Carrie came in the dressing room and I'm like, "Hello, Carrie. Here's your M&Ms." And Carrie went on stage and did a hell of a show. Every once in a while, I'll do that, Mike. It was John Santo wouldn't go on stage unless we had a glass full of brown M&Ms. I loved their humor. I loved like when they did the concert and the garbage was everywhere and they had the Indian on horseback crying. Don't cry, we'll clean it up. Brilliant.
I love it.
So Stevie, can you tell us when the show will debut? Do you have any idea?
Well, we got to get it together. We got to do a pilot. I'm thinking the first week of December.
Oh wow, that's ambitious. All right, you're coming up quick.
I want to do it fast.
So do me a favor. So when it is ready to debut, or like you have everything settled, we'll announce it here on the show here.
All right, great. You. I'll email you or Facebook you or let you know.
Contact me on the book face and the email, whatever it is. And
the book face. The
book face.
The parlor, which is another piece of crap.
All these things, it's like I can't take it anymore with all this social media crap.
It's too much.
It's too much.
I'm obsessed with it, but No,
it's good. It's a good way to communicate. I just, I wish it was less.
I see your guy over there. Is he
that's Bobby.
Down?
Yes, Bobby. When Bobby comes on, it's time to come off.
I see.
Bobby, what did you think of the 50th episode? I'd like to have Bobby come in for a cameo at the end.
I thought it was great.
Great show.
Yep. Thank you, Bobby.
You got it.
Bobby's great. Stevie G was a great guest, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. Guest co-host.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming on, Stevie. And this wraps up the 50th episode. I can't believe we're doing this a year. 50th episode of John Santos the Radio, the #1 radio show on this network, on this day, at this time. No other show can make that claim.
He got it.
So you got it.
He got it.
Thanks for having me,
Thank you so much. And thank you, Stevie GB. Thank you, Mr. Producer Bobby. And we'll see you for episode 51 next week when my guest will be somebody.
We're out.
I don't know who's on next week. All right, buddy. Thanks again for coming on.
You got it. Talk to you soon.
All right. Good luck, buddy.
Take care. Bye-bye.